Well, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Glad you're here, right here on the AFR Talk Network. Just spoke with Buzz Jacobs, Benghazi 9-11.com, Benghazi9-11.com. Check it out. I'll post it up on the Facebook. Go to the Facebook page. You want to interact right now. Always go to nothingbuttruth.com for more from yours truly and Nothing But Truth, for Nothing But Truth. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk. So Buzz and I were discussing what a retired general who is in charge of the African Command, which obviously would be part of the decision-making process that horrible night on September 11th when we were attacked in 2012 in Libya, Benghazi, Libya. And Representative Wolf is looking for a select committee and asking the question, why on earth do we have to learn about what really happened from survivors when they're writing books as opposed to testimony? And it doesn't take a Rip Einstein to understand this is about a dodge. This is about, let's talk about race. Let's talk about anything but the IRS, Benghazi, the DOJ. Let's not talk about that stuff. They're even wanting to talk about the economy. And they being the administration and the supporters. And they must, I get the idea, they think we've just forgotten the last 6 years. And so they say, well, a lot of these problems, Obamacare, we're going to suspend the employee mandate. We're going to delay it. But there's no problem here, and it's $10 billion in shortfall, and the numbers are not adding up, and people are losing their health care coverage that they were going to keep, or they're losing their job because they have to be under 50 employees and 30 hours. So they've been moved to part-time, and we see the U6 number go from 13.8 to 14.3. I keep bringing that up, and I'll have to talk to Diana Furchtgott-Roth about that, the former chief economic advisor to the Department of Labor under President George W. Bush. She worked under three presidents, though, Reagan, George H.W., and George W. in their administrations with the Manhattan Institute. Before I do that, though, I'll be speaking with Nicole Gelinas, who is a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute as well. It's a great institute, obviously. She is a writer for the New York Post, a columnist. Her column today, Detroit's Bankruptcy, a warning to NYC. We're going to address the specific causes and how Detroit may be the canary in the coal mine and taking one of the most safest investments over time, which would be municipal bonds, and the reverberations of what happens when we learn people default. What happens? What happens to people counting on their pensions and they see what happened in Detroit and they realize the fuzzy math in Detroit and the structure, the paradigm, the model, the economic model they had is similar to their city, county, municipality. And believe you me, there are more Detroits coming. We'll get to Nicole in a few moments. I did speak to the IRS scandal, and I'm going to jump ahead here to cut number 17 to address the IRS scandal. Last week, in the House Oversight Committee, the Internal Revenue Service's lawyer, the auditor, to go over the report, and a number of people testified. But one of the people involved was reviewing the questions that were being asked of the Tea Party and was asked, are these normal questions? Were these questions extraordinary or were these part of it? Trying to clarify if this was just, hey, they got pressed, but this is part of the process. Is this normal? Roll it.
Did either of you think it was strange the type of questions they were being asked? There were some pretty unusual questions asked, like donor information. Do you think that that was inappropriate?
Go ahead.
I think they were inappropriate, and when I learned of that, I did talk to somebody and say that question should not be asked.
So we learned that they're inappropriate. Then we heard from an IRS employee in Cincinnati, one of the IRS employees that was called the rogue agents. Remember, a few rogue agents in Cincinnati. Representative Jason Chaffetz asked her about her feelings about what she heard when she was described by Jay Carney and others in the administration as being responsible, in essence, for the review and specific targeting of the Tea Party groups. Roll it.
Sir, I know the accuracy of any inference to rogue agents is not correct.
How there had to be a moment when you went back home, you're kind of by yourself. What was that like?
Well, like I said to the other gentleman, it was like a nuclear fallout. I mean, the press hounded my family and me. They were hounding us at work. So, I mean, it wasn't a character builder.
Why did they do that? Why was everybody?
I don't have any factual knowledge of why they said what they said or why they did what they did.
What could you do about it?
There's nothing I could have done.
What did you want to do?
Go back to my life previous, I mean, before May 10th.
That's telling. Puts a face on things. Imagine attempted the shift to attempt to make them the fall guys. Wow. And Jason Chaffetz had enough. Roll it.
When you have the spokesperson for the President of the United States make a definitive statement that it was two rogue agents and start poking at these people who have no power to do anything about it, that is wrong. How dare anybody suggest that we're at the end of this? This is the beginning of this. We have to make an example of it. We need to get to the bottom of it. And quite frankly, I'm tired of this administration having to keep having these hearings. We've done it on Fast and Furious. We're doing it on Benghazi. We're doing it on the IRS. Why? Each time there's a pattern. Nothing here. Oh, it's just a couple people. Just move on. That's not true. When the ranking member went on national television and said that this case should be closed, that's wrong. And I have the greatest respect for him.
It is absolutely wrong. And that's what's been happening. The idea of nothing to see here. We do have news now that the IRS commissioner, Douglas Schulman, and two IRS officials met with the former head of the OMB in the Eisenhower office a day before these new regulations, the highlighting of specific, the criteria that was laid out to target these groups a day before it was enacted. We have more on that a little later, but first we're going to have Nicole Gelinas from the New York Post. Yeah, we're getting very close to the White House. Now, do I say that with joy? No. I say that because it's coming out in the Daily Caller, and Carol Platt-LaBelle from townhall.com has done a great job, as well as a Daily Caller report earlier today. AFR Talk.